Caitlin Clark will be out for at least 2 weeks. She has a quad strain that has been bugging her since training camp. That stinks.
That she will be out a minimum of 2 weeks. I actually think that it's going to be longer than 2 weeks.
Caitlin is being shut down for 2 weeks with a quadriceps.
It is undeniable that Caitlin Clark is the engine that makes the Indiana Fever offense run.
Just minutes ago, the news broke, and it's worse than anyone expected.
Caitlin has never missed a game. Iron Woman. Cal Ripken Jr. like.
That also stinks for the WNBA as a whole. Feels like this year a lot more common sense is kind of settling in. Caitlin Clark is the needle mover.
For the sake of Caitlin, because when a player is injured, if the other team knows that a player is injured, they will go at that player.
Luckily, this is not a season-ending injury. It is not any career-type ending injury.
Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA, is being shut down. Not for rest, not for recovery, but for survival.
Caitlin has never missed a game. Iron Woman. Cal Ripken Jr. like, but it turns out that even the immortal Caitlin Clark is subject to the aches and pains that the rest of us get. She's going to be out at least 2 weeks with a left quad strain.
What was quietly dismissed as a minor quad strain has now escalated into something much more serious. She's out indefinitely, and if the signs are right, her rookie season might be over.
That's if she stays on track with recovery, because we know these soft tissue injuries, the calves, the quads, the hammies, those are kind of touch and go, each individual injury. So you said it's been bothering her since training camp.
That's what they said, yeah, those reports.
Been kind of gutting it out. That's tough, especially all the running and change of direction that basketball players do. So hopefully CC gets back there sooner than later. And like you said, the Fever can hold serve.
This isn't just an injury. This is a crisis. Clark has never missed a game, college or pro. She's been the Iron Woman, the engine, the lightning rod pulling millions into arenas across the country.
Issue. And across her 4 years at Iowa and through her rookie season last year with the Indiana Fever, Caitlin has never missed a game.
But now, she's sidelined with a lingering injury that's been haunting her since training camp. And sources say it's worse than the Fever are letting on. No one saw this coming. And yet, with every missed rotation, every heated pack on the sideline, every limp in her step, the warning signs were right in front of us.
I actually think that it's going to be longer than 2 weeks. With them saying a minimum of 2 weeks, I feel like that's kind of just giving us breadcrumbs, just giving us enough information. And I actually don't think that they're going to give more for the sake of Caitlin, because when a player is injured, if the other team knows that a player is injured, they will go at that player. And it's not even in a malicious intent.
Now the Fever are in free fall, the league is scrambling, and fans everywhere are asking the same chilling question. Is Caitlin Clark's season already over? The truth has finally surfaced. Caitlin Clark has been playing hurt all along. The Indiana Fever have officially shut her down with a left quadriceps strain. And while the statement says 2 weeks, no one's buying that.
That's why I feel like the Indiana Fever are probably going to keep this so tight-lipped, and we're just going to have to speculate until she's back on the court as to what is exactly going on. Now, Chloe says here that it's a new injury, and a lot of fans are not buying that at all. A lot of fans are saying she's had this injury the entire time and she's just been playing, and they're blaming the coach, they're blaming the organization, saying that you've been playing her.
Behind the scenes, the whispers are growing louder. This isn't a precaution, it's a warning. Clark has been battling this injury since training camp, pushing through pain, and now it's caught up to her. The footage from recent games suddenly makes sense. Sluggish movement, missed threes, ice packs on the bench, and moments where she's clearly limping between plays.
This will be the litmus test for the WNBA. We'll end the conversation once and for all. Like, if the Fever go out and the ratings aren't the same because she's not playing, then it's a pretty clear indication. Like you said, like, she is the needle mover, she is the main draw. You just hope that the Fever can withstand it as well, because 2 weeks, I mean, that's a decent chunk of games in their season.
But here's the problem: the Fever knew. Fans believe the team saw the signs and kept playing her anyway, riding the momentum, the headlines, and the sold-out arenas. And now it's all crashing down. The ticket sales are plummeting, StubHub listings are being slashed in half, and the WNBA's golden moment is teetering on the edge of collapse.
Ticket scalpers are taking a beating. If you look at the prices on StubHub, they're being slashed in half. There's no way you're going to be able to sell those tickets for Caitlin Clark prices without her playing.
Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's the player. The one driving record-breaking viewership. The one responsible for packed arenas in cities that never cared about women's basketball. The one who brought energy, eyeballs, and millions of dollars into a league desperate for all three. Her absence isn't just a loss for Indiana, it's a blow to the entire WNBA ecosystem.
Fever, obviously, that stinks for our city. That also stinks for the WNBA as a whole. Feels like this year a lot more common sense is kind of settling in. Caitlin Clark is the needle mover. The Indiana Fever are the draw. They're going to be without CC for at least a couple weeks.
And what's worse, this might not be a short-term rest. Multiple analysts now believe that 2 weeks is a smokescreen. Quadriceps strains, especially ones that linger for months, aren't easy fixes. They're unpredictable. And if she returns too soon, she risks making it worse. Much worse, which raises the terrifying possibility.
The Fever gave the Liberty a tangle, coming up a couple of points short, but that bad news pales in comparison to the news that we received after the game. Caitlin is being shut down for 2 weeks with a quadriceps.
If this doesn't heal properly, Caitlin Clark might have to cancel her rookie season altogether. This isn't just a personal setback for Caitlin Clark. It's a full-blown crisis for the WNBA. Because let's be real, the league's momentum, its media coverage, its exploding ticket sales, it all traces back to one name. Clark didn't just raise the bar, she became the bar.
Something must have happened in that New York Liberty game that forced Caitlin Clark to go to the doctor to possibly get x-rays.
Not the same injury, though it is kind of odd that it is on the same muscle. And depending on the grade, they're graded grades 1, 2, and 3. Grade 3 needs surgery.
And now, without her on the floor, the ripple effects are everywhere. Ticket scalpers are panicking. Seats that were going for triple digits last week are being offloaded for pennies. StubHub prices have been slashed, fan attendance is dipping, and the Fever's upcoming games, once media magnets, are losing their national spotlight.
In the importance of Caitlin Clark. Either way, maybe they learn it is more than one woman, or maybe they learn it's only. But I am fascinated by it. As to the Fever, you know what? This was a team that I think, well, I know expectations were to compete for a championship. They'd won some, lost one to the Liberty, lost one to the Dream, and, you know, they were going to build it, you know, continue some new players, Sophie Cunningham, a couple others. But it sets them back, no question about it, which is going to set back the interest.
Clark wasn't just selling out arenas. She was making irrelevant games matter. And while the league tries to pivot, the truth is obvious. There is no replacement. Not one player in the WNBA can match Clark's drawing power, her fan loyalty, or her reach. She was the ratings anchor.
Caitlin Clark was not even in the final huddle at the end of practice, so I'm sure that she's rehabbing somewhere. She was maybe at the doctor. We don't know where she is. Again, we're not going to get that information, but I wanted to share with you guys what Coach Stephanie White had to say about her injury.
You know, there's so many things when you think about Caitlin and her not wanting to miss games. Obviously, she's a competitor, wants to play. Obviously, everyone wants to watch her play. You know, but for me, it's maintaining perspective, right? It's making sure that we address this in a way that doesn't affect long term, that we take care of it. Don't over push, don't overexert, making sure that we take the long game approach to this, so that we're not having lingering issues throughout the course of the season. And I'm glad that, you know, sometimes great players don't tell you when they're hurting. I'm glad that she did, because we need to nip this in the bud.
They are treating Caitlin Clark like she's the franchise player because she is the franchise player.
The media's main event. The reason people who never watched women's basketball started caring, which is why this injury is so much bigger than a strained quad. If Caitlin Clark is done for the season, the WNBA isn't just losing a star, it's losing its centerpiece.
Now, there have also been some videos going around online where Caitlin has been using like heating packs and ice packs on her legs, not ice packs, but heating packs during the game. And there's also been clips where she's on the bench and she's kind of rubbing her leg. And so it seems like there have been multiple occasions where it had been bothering her and nobody just knew to what extent that was. I will say that I noticed in the last couple games, because I feel like the last 2 games she did not play well. She might have done well statistically, statistically, although she didn't shoot well from 3, and I know a lot of people were wondering, why is she in this shooting slump? It seems like now we know.
And no amount of PR spin can hide that. The league needed her to carry this year. But now, the WNBA might have to figure out what survival looks like without Caitlin Clark.
I don't know. And what does that overall do to the WNBA? This is your time to shine, ladies. I mean, the ladies of the WNBA have bitched, whined, and moaned that it's not about one person. Well, okay, for a couple weeks, right here in the middle of it, you get a chance to prove that it's not only about one person. I don't know that that's great for the WNBA. Maybe the WNBA gets a little lesson.
And here's where things get even more troubling, because this injury didn't come out of nowhere. Fans have been piecing it together for weeks. The heating pads during timeouts, the limp between quarters, the drop in her three-point shooting. This wasn't sudden. It was slow, building, and ignored. Now, many are pointing fingers at the Indiana Fever coaching staff and front office, asking, why was Caitlin Clark pushed this hard, this early?
I would have thought that she might be starting Sophie Cunningham, but this is what Stephanie White said to the media.
Practices as, trying to figure out new rotations, who's going to run point. Have you kind of nailed that down yet ahead of tomorrow?
Yeah, we're going to start setting point tomorrow. We're going to give that a look. Sophie's going to get a heavy dose of it as well. The other thing that we love is what Sophie and or Lexi, whichever one, brings us from the bench, and having that spark, having that punch. So we're gonna look at Sid in that starting lineup to start.
So this is how I see White's strategy. I think that she is starting Sid Colson.
She went from the NCAA Final Four to the WNBA draft, straight into training camp, without rest, no break, no recovery, just nonstop pressure to perform. And let's be honest, Clark never complained. She showed up, she played through pain, and she carried a team still trying to find its identity.
There's so much that happens within your body. If you get an injury one place, you start compensating in another place. Like, we have seen athletes who had a certain injury on one leg, and then right when they go back, they injure the other leg. And sometimes it's even worse. Sometimes it's an ACL. Sometimes it's an Achilles. Sometimes it's a patellar tendon. Like, there are so many.
But the body has limits, even hers. Soft tissue injuries like quad strains don't heal on hype. They get worse with overuse. And that's exactly what happened. The Fever were too focused on ticket sales and primetime exposure to protect their biggest asset. And now the league's most valuable player might be sidelined long-term because no one had the courage to hit pause when it mattered most.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about Caitlin Clark? Remember last year, she played in the Final Four. Right after that, she went immediately to the WNBA. Draft came, season started, and, didn't miss a beat. And all of a sudden, she got a little rest and comes back, gets a little banged up. I heard you talking about it earlier, and it's going to be fascinating to me, Ricky. I've been to Fever games, and the one thing you notice, and this is more so than even when Peyton Manning was the quarterback of the Colts.
So here we are. What was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's breakout rookie season is now hanging by a thread. The player who never missed a game, who carried an entire league on her back, is now forced to sit and watch while everything she built risks unraveling. And the question haunting every fan, every analyst, and every WNBA exec is simple. Will she even come back this season?
She suffered the injury. Not a lot of people know this, so I definitely have to preface every article with that. I talk about how it's a blow not just to the team, not just to Caitlin Clark, but to the WNBA, as she has become a marquee attraction. And then I go into Caitlin Clark is undeniably the offensive engine.
Because this isn't just about one injury. It's about how she was handled, how she was overplayed, how the pressure to be everything, everywhere, all at once finally broke through. And now the league is scrambling, not just to replace her production, but to keep the spotlight from disappearing entirely.
It is undeniable that Caitlin Clark is the engine that makes the Indiana Fever offense run. And it is unfortunate that she did go down with an injury. Luckily, this is not a season-ending injury. It is not any career-type ending injury. I think this is such a big deal because of the weight that she has, the weight that she carries on her shoulders for the success of the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark didn't deserve this. The fans didn't deserve this. And the WNBA? If they're not careful, they'll lose far more than a player. They'll lose the very momentum that was saving their future.
Aaliyah Boston does have elite IQ on the court, especially for a big, but she's currently averaging 2.3 assists per game, as is Kelsey Mitchell, 2.3 assists per game. Nobody on the team is averaging more than that. Now, if you compare that with the other top two teams in the league, the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx, especially the Minnesota Lynx have 7 starters that average 2.3 or more assists per game. Their ball movement is beautiful.
Stay tuned. Hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed. Because the next few weeks won't just decide Caitlin Clark's season, they might define the fate of the entire league.
The Indiana Fever just released this information about 20 minutes ago. They stated Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain.
Caitlin Clark will be out for at least 2 weeks. She has a quad strain that has been bugging her since training.
Caitlin Clark does not look right on the sideline. Caitlin Clark is coming out. She has heat compression on her quad. She was playing injured.
That stinks for the Fever, obviously. That stinks for our city. That also stinks for the WNBA as a whole.
She's going to be out at least 2 weeks with a left quad strain.
Something must have happened in that New York Liberty game that forced Caitlin Clark to go to the doctor to possibly get x-rays.
Not the same injury, though it is kind of odd that it is on the same muscle. And depending on the grade, they're graded grades 1, 2, and 3. Grade 3 needs surgery.
Scheduled to be examined on June the 9th. That is a re-examination date, so it's probably going to take at least a little while after that. And quadricep injuries are, the kind of injury it could be a few weeks.
It's also terrible news for the WNBA, which relies on Clark for so much attendance, viewership, social media, merchandise, in a way no sports league has ever before.
There is literally footage of Caitlin Clark putting heat compression towards her leg. There is literally footage of her putting heat packs on her leg.
Caitlin Clark is undeniably the offensive engine, which is what I mentioned earlier. She averages 19 points, 9.3 assists, and 6 rebounds a game, and nobody even comes close to the assists.